to another episode of Rising Tide Podcast. The purpose of Rising Tide is to educate, heal, and empower by bringing on the world's most brilliant minds and purest souls. Today, I am humbled and honored to have another Rising Tide in the building, Mr. Brian Bradley. He is the Vice President and Brand Development and over special programs over the Egoscue method. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, dude. How you been?
I'm blessing and progressing. Like you said when we first got on, I'm alive.
It's correct. You know, a lot of people, this is tough times we're living in across the world, you know, and a lot of people are, they're going to the life's happening to me versus life's happening for me. And, you know, you and I come from a place of life's happening for us. We just got to create that, you know, and I know you can't just talk a big game about it. You got to kind of live it. You got to have a strategy going through it. And I joke with people and when they're like, man, you know, you're always on, you know, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, it's easy. I get up. I basically feel like I eat metal and shit bullets by noon. So it's sorry about the language. My mother.
Oh, you're okay.
But it's, so listen, it's a pleasure to be here. We're going to talk some posture, pain, performance stuff from amateur people out there like myself who want to play at a high level in their 50s. To you and what are you, about 21 right now? I mean, either that or
32.
Damn, I want to use the soap that you're using, bro. But yeah, I mean, whatever you want to talk about, I'm in.
All righty. Well, I typically just start off with just asking, of course, who you are, what it is that you do, and how you got started and what you do, so we can inform the audience.
Well, Brian Bradley, and I joke around a lot about my social media handle is under The Brian Bradley, and it's only The Brian Bradley because Brian Bradley was taken by a Tampa Bay hockey Lightning player, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he wouldn't sell it to me. So I had to go to The Brian Bradley, but I'm really not that narcissistic, right? In fact, I gave myself my own COVID-19 haircut, which is good. So basically, maybe 1991-ish, I got hooked up with a gentleman named Pete Egoscue, which you can see up here, the spelling, Egoscue method, and he's a Marine Corps major coming out of Vietnam. And I found him when I was working for Health South Physical Therapy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm into this PT world. I had blinders on going, I know. Absolutely significance driven, absolutely not certain, but I came across with certainty. Because university only trains you so far into actually going after problematic issues. They teach you how to go after symptomatic issues. And when you're band-aiding a symptom, it's a problem. So for me, I basically got hooked up. Hold on, I'm going to put this on Do Not Disturb. Okay, so I basically now, having luckily ran into Pete Egoscue in 1991, learned what the cause of dysfunctional movement was coming from. So for example, you and I you're in your 30s, I'm in my 50s. The things that I could do in my 30s, I can easily still do in my 50s. And that was, you know, even after hellacious mountain bike wrecks, you know, racing downhill, all that stuff. But I luckily got hooked up. And this is one thing that people have to think about too, is why are you where you are in your life? I luckily was smart enough to listen, actively listen, put my ego to the side and say, maybe this guy, Pete Egoscue, knows something that I don't know. And when you can do that, you can honestly move yourself to a better place because your ego is not driving everything. And when that happens, and that defines everything about me. Like I'm probably the most self-deprecating person on the planet in the sense that, yeah, I'm very good at a lot of things that I do, but it's only because I'm open to learning and accepting coaching and things like that. So how I got started in this stuff and where I came from all kinds of athletic backgrounds, but having learned and listened from accidents to myself and then make that applicable to our customers so that we're not dealing with chronic pain or performance issues without going after the cause. So as we get deeper into this, you know, you'll have people asking questions like, I wonder if Egoscue or Brian Bradley could help me out with my back. The answer is yes, but you have to be, it's easy for me to help, but it's not easy for someone to put it aside and put their story down because they're different. They believe their stuff is special. And I don't blame them for that. I'm not judging that. It's like the idea, if you were to ask me, Brian, I have a degenerative knee. Have you ever worked with that? And I'd say 10,000 of them, but we haven't seen yours. That was a Pete Egoscue statement that really blew my mind years ago. He's like, yeah, I've seen 10,000 degenerative hips, but I haven't seen hers. And I'm thinking, wow, that's great, because you're not predisposing yourself to an automatic answer when you don't know if that case is going to require something other than automatic, because they're going to bring something different to the table, which is why we look at all of our professional athletes, you know, from Gardner Minshew to the Niners to Conor McGregor to Chuck Liddell to all these guys. I don't look at them any different than you, me, my mom and dad, your mom and dad. The evaluation is the same. The needs might be different. So while we're getting started in this discussion on rising tide, I love the neurolinguistics behind that name, because it just speaks to the tide is rising. And if and when you decide to change your mind that you want to go with it, it's an easy switch. Otherwise, you're caught under it. And that's where the trouble starts to be created. I mean, we'll get into COVID-19 and stuff as we talk, but that tide's rising and it's scaring the bejesus out of a lot of people, right? So it's
facts.
Can we train for it? Can we train our mind and our heart and especially our body to be ready for COVID-19? Because we're all affected by it, but we're not all infected by it, but we're affected. You know, I'm working from my office a lot and traveling once a month, you know, whereas I was traveling 2-3 times a month for other stuff. So we've all had those effects on us. So I know that's a long roundabout answer, but I don't want this to be about like who Brian is, stuff like that. It's really more about the method that I'm employing around the world based on meeting Pete Egoscue 30 years ago. You know, once you're informed about how it can help you, it kind of really helps people on the psychological end of, I'm not broken anymore. I'm just slightly bent. And here's some curative movements that I can do every day to make myself feel better.
So what are some of the main or common pains that everyday people come to you with, and then some of the higher performing, higher profile clients come to you with, and then what were you able to do for them? And then what was the result of them actually going the method? What was the transformation of the change that they experienced?
Well, if we had a group of people in front of us, let's say this was going out to 100,000 people and they were all sitting in front of us. And if we could just say to them right now, pretend we're all in a room. And I just said, okay, guys, raise your hands if you have chronic pain or if you have any pain symptoms. How many people out of 100,000 would you think was going to raise their hand?
100%.
Yeah, I'd say 80 to 100%. And the other 20% might be lying.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't even realize that they might be used to the pain. So, no, I don't really have pain. I just have, you know, aches and this, and I can't walk hills anymore when I used to. That's a limitation. So when we talk pain, we're talking limited movement based on what you used to be able to do. And then it becomes 100%, because we're not just talking about, you know, hey, Christopher, does your back kill you every day? You might be like, no, but I have this little ache up here. It's not a big deal for you to want to spend all day trying to cure it, but it is a warning signal to say, Christopher, you're in your low 30s. What if it keeps getting worse? You know, and that's the kind of stuff that's why we talk about rising tide, next level performance, bulletproofing your body, you know, stuff like that to get the most out of it later. And we're not just talking to talk. It really does create a different bodily reaction when you can get your body as close to this design as possible, where everything's vertically loaded, nothing's, and at any age. For example, this picture I'll show you is a young man at the age of, I don't know, 75. But if you look at this picture of him bending over, before and after.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Same day. So if you can say to yourself, well, it's great for, you know, younger people, but I'm 75. I'm sorry, this guy was able to do this. But here's what you have coming. This was a picture I took in Australia, or is it the UK? Somebody waiting to do some therapy with us, but that's the typical posture of the 18-year-old. No, I'm sorry, let me go. The 13-year-old to the 30-year-old today, chronically in that position. But yet if we said, hey, stand up and bend over, touch your toes, they'd get about halfway down and stop versus going all the way down. Because what's changed is chronic pain is no longer just the driver, it's the loss of ability. And one thing we pride ourselves on at Egoscue is, especially as we get older, Pete Egoscue being 75 and snowshoes twice a week, you know, and all kinds of stuff that he's able to do. Me in my mid 50s to be able to do what I'm able to do. You'll see it on my Instagram and Facebook and stuff. I put that stuff out there. Yeah, I have a sick sense of humor, but it's also to get people to say, wow, in Brian's 50s, he used to race downhill mountain bikes and bounced off a tree at 60 miles an hour and tore his ACL and twice, blood clotted the calf and broke his back and dislocated his hip, tore the labrum, separated this shoulder, dislocated this shoulder, bulging disc up here. You have all these things that would happen, but I don't have limitations with them because I've made a commitment to not allow those injuries to rear their ugly head 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road. Am I as big, fast, and strong as I was in my 20s? I don't really care. The answer is yes-ish. But do I care about putting 465 pounds in the bar and squatting 3 times, 4 times? I really don't. I really don't. Back then I did because my significance was driving everything. If I was bigger, faster, stronger, more people are going to be able to relate to me and like me and approve of me. Whereas now I just couldn't give a shit. You know, it's a much healthier place to be in when you either like me or you don't. And if you don't, I'm okay with that. I'm not even judging it. But what did I do to maybe feed that narrative? You know, somebody on here might be saying, God, I don't like how much this guy talks. Shut up. But that's okay too. And if I knew that, I could cut down on that, still get the same message across, because I know that I have something to do with that reaction. And that was one thing Bill Clinton taught me is we were at a big Tony Robbins event and Bill Clinton was speaking. He said, right after Trump won the election over Hillary in 2016, they said, you know, Tony asked him, you know, how do you deal with all the negativity that's out there? And he said, I never take it personally, but I always take it seriously. And then I assume the other person's right. Think about that. Bill Clinton's this. I don't take it personally because that creates a reaction. I do take it seriously. I wonder what I did to make that person feel that way. Can you imagine if Trump did 10% of that during the last 4 years?
Probably be less hated.
Bro, forget about him. If he did that by 10%, maybe there wouldn't be so much of us hating each other based on that stuff. You know, forget him for a second. But because of that narrative, it just flamed everything. And now you have 73 million and 73 million complete polar opposites and nobody in the middle, which is, it's kind of fun over here in the middle. You know, it's nice.
No, that makes complete sense. What are some of the main things that lead to bad posture? And then how does posture or how does pain get stored in the body?
Okay,
or stress, stress.
I hear you. Let's say we have people working out now because they want to get in shape. Here are 2 guys. And do you see the differences in these 2 guys in their posture?
Yes, one maybe back, shoulders are back.
Yeah, and the other one looks like his shoulders are rounded, but his lats are big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same guy from beginning in the white shorts to after in the black shorts. Now, this guy, if from a development standpoint, you could say he gets lat development pretty easily because it does all of his work. This guy is in a position where his shoulders are in a better place, which then when I show you this picture, look at the difference in this fight. And we all know who won and lost this fight. So here's Khabib McGregor. And look at Khabib's posture compared to McGregor's shoulder posture. McGregor got crushed. I'm sorry. Yeah, McGregor got crushed. I literally said to him 12 days out of the Cowboy fight, I said, bro, you honestly went into that fight with an unfair advantage. Khabib was going to win from the get-go. Well, how do you know that? And I said, because look at your picture compared to this. He was already in a position to accept and breathe and all that better. But here's one of the smartest fighters of all time who said, that was me in the black shorts. That is me in the green shorts. And he won that fight in 44 seconds. But look at the posture change. When I say smartest guys I've ever worked with, because the minute you showed him what the issues were, what the postures were, he got it. And so you ask a question, how's posture related to pain? It is. A deviation from here is the cause of the pain. So let me ask your audience a question and just have them formulate it in their head. You can, but you can answer. Has CrossFit hurt people?
I would think so.
You would think so.
Yeah.
And if you read on the web, yeah, physical therapists are way busier because of CrossFit. No, I have nothing to do with CrossFit. But I can promise you, 99% of the time, because there could be that one outlier that's out there that just did something stupid. But 99% of the time, I would tell you, CrossFit didn't hurt you. The body that you took to CrossFit hurt you. So imagine this guy going in to CrossFit with that posture, but this guy going in has a much better chance of being not hurt. And that's a 58-year-old dude before and after with 12 minutes of exercise. And thank God he had a tattoo, because nobody believes it's the same guy. And that's 58 years young. So my pro athletes come to Egoscue so that we can give them an unfair advantage. Like literally that's why they come to see us, because they're looking at it saying, can I do something that's going to move me to the next level? What am I missing? And again, that's putting down that ego and being able to ask, yes, I'm the best quarterback in the league, but I think I can play better. That's the great thing about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The dude, he reads the Four Agreements book all the time. Why would Tom Brady want to read the Four Agreements book? Because it puts you in a perspective of, I'm really not in control, because control is an illusion. It's how I absorb the information coming to me, and I don't take things personally.
So, like, for instance, my grandmother, she's had like replacement knee surgery and all this other stuff like that. If she was to do the virtual classes and all that stuff like that, it would be different methods that would be able to help her, because even my mother, which is of course obviously way younger than my grandmother, but she's hypnotized into that belief, oh, Chris, you can do that because you're younger and I'm just old, so I can't do that, Chris. I can't exercise really like that. I can't move around like that. Ooh, you flexible like that just because you're young. And like, how do you shift the belief of the people that's just locked into, well, I'm just getting older, so I'm supposed to be slowing down. My body's supposed to be shutting down. I'm supposed to have those limitations that you're talking about. How do you get people aware that you're really not supposed to?
You let me do it for you.
Yes.
You let me show her a 78-year-old woman in our Tokyo, Japan clinic before and after in 90 minutes Now that's her first visit. Can you imagine when she put 6 months into it?
Man.
And remember that mindset. I don't know your mother. I don't know your grandmother. But I know what your grandmother went through in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We all know what she went through. So all of that mindset gets a person who grew up in that time frame to go, no, the tall grass gets cut. I'm not supposed to be about me. It's about taking care of other people. Your mindset at 30 something, my mindset at 50 something, because I have a 19-year-old. So I have that mindset. I listen to him. That mindset is, I got to take care of me or I can't take care of everybody else. We got to get her to absorb some of the, hey, it's okay to be a little selfish.
Yeah.
Give her the okay. And then give her a reason. Grandma, I love having you around. I don't like to see you like this. You're not putting me out by letting me help you. In fact, you're putting me out by not letting me help you. Because I have access to stuff that is unbelievable. Especially when she says, I'm 68 years old. And when, honey, when you get to be 68, your knee will hurt too. And your answer should be this. That's awesome, Grandma. How old is your other knee? Be ready to get punched at that point, though. You can't joke around with Grandma too much.
But no, you bring up a good point. And honestly, it is one of my goals to be able to take my mom and my grandmother and my girlfriend to an event actually where I had found out about you, which is the Tony Robbins event, and just have y'all do it there. Because man, that was probably one of, not even probably, man, it's just I missed the in-person experiences. Like I've been going to the virtual ones and I'm definitely signed up for the March one, UPW, but the in-person ones, man, they're just so amazing. And again, that's how I found out about you, the different movements that we were doing in there. I actually do those every single morning just to get me pumped up. During the little 5-day challenge that Tony just had or whatever, and you were coming on every single morning, I was doing the little exercises, going out to the side, and then you told us to close our eyes and to calibrate our body weight and everything. And my girl was just like, I can just, whatever you just did, I can just tell just from looking at you, it did something. Like just your stance, your posture, it's whatever you just did is for sure working. So I just wanted to be a testament to that. Even though we only get those little shifts that you have us do, they make the world of difference. And like you said, a short amount of time. So I can only imagine a person working with you for 90 minutes at a time for a year or 6 months. I know the results is probably crazy.
Well, can you imagine if somebody put in, you know, the analogy really is, Chris, that did you brush your teeth today?
Yep.
Why?
Habit, I guess.
No. It is a habit, but why do you brush your teeth? There's a reason.
Hygiene, sparkly whites.
Yeah, because you'll lose your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right? If she's like, hey, dragon breath, we're not dating anymore. But there's a reason for it. People don't realize that their shoulder, their hip, their knee, and their ankle are just like your teeth. If you could brush and floss them once a day, it can be done in 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever you have time for. Take a different body to your activity level and life gets better. Your body, because when grandma, and this is where I would say to your listeners, how they know that they're not moving from their hips anymore is when they're on the toilet tonight, I want them to think of me. All right? And I want you to think, okay, when I'm done with my business, just get up. And when you get up, you'll notice that you push off the toilet or you push off your legs or you grab a hold of something to pull yourself up. That means you become an upper body mover. And that's what Connor was in that Khabib fight where he was throwing punches and Khabib was like, seriously, that's all you have? When the power should be coming from the hip to drive the arm to somebody. Same thing in golf, same thing in tennis, same thing in football. So when I raised my kid, when we were doing this, the one rule I had was, you're going to be moving on a daily basis. he didn't even know that I was training him when I was training him. What that means is, how did I train him? How do you keep a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old interested in functional movement? You take him to the park. You let him move organically. And when you go to the park in Southern California, I was accomplishing probably 10 things at once. I was introducing him to bacteria, stuff that's around, making his immune system stronger, introducing him to functional movement, didn't even know it. He didn't. Introducing him to every race known to man. So to him, the melting pot of Southern California was an amazing way for him to be able to do what he's doing now. Because when he was playing at the high level, he plays D1 soccer, and growing up through the academy, the ice cream truck's outside.
Oh, you're good.
Well, when I have the ice cream truck playing music and then I have the garbage truck doing something else, it's gonna sound like I'm living in some kind of circus. But the cool thing about that was I accomplished so many things at once, to where the kid now runs a 4-4. He's a left footer. He's a left back, picked up by D1 to play soccer. I only tell you this because that was his goal. All I did was bulldoze the limitations away from in front of him. He did the work. This isn't one of those where dad needed him to do something, because I honestly couldn't give two shits. If he was gonna play the clarinet, he would have been the most functional clarinet player on the planet. I didn't care what he chose. So when you look at chronic pain, when you look at any age group, the way to get out of it is to start embracing the pain. What is my body trying to tell me versus what's wrong with me?
No, that's very true. I was reading a book as you were just talking about it, made me think about it. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And in it, even in the book Presence by Amy Cuddy, they were talking about how different body postures was able to get rid of like PTSD and everything like that. Is that even along the lines of like the level of stress that you're referring to that can get released out of the body with these different movements?
100%. The next time you go through those exercises, Chris, think of the worst thing that's ever happened to you in life. Like, just close your eyes for a second, and we'll have everybody close their eyes. Unless you're driving, listening to this, keep your eyes open. That would be bad. With your eyes closed, think to yourself, what is the worst situation that has ever happened to you in your life? And now feel it. Like, let it grasp its arms around you. And now give it a color. Okay, open up your eyes. Do you mind telling us what it was, or you don't want to make it public?
The situation? Oh, I don't mind. I was just molested at a young age by an older female friend of the family.
Doesn't get any worse than that, bro. This isn't one of those, and everybody has that go on. Everybody has certain things in their life. Everybody has baggage, which is why when somebody freaks the fuck out at me, I instantly sit back and say, what did I have to do? What button did I push? Did you let it grab you? Did you feel it?
As best as I could, yeah.
Okay. What color did you give it?
I saw blue.
Okay. When we're done with this podcast today, we'll get up and do 2 or 3 exercises for your group of people to go through.
Okay.
And we'll ask that question again, and we'll go through the exercises, and we'll see what happens after. Because, brother, you gotta look at it this way, just going, we're all in this humanity together. You know, and I see commercials on TV about the Catholic Church and all the stuff that happened there. And, you know, luckily I wasn't in that or had it happen to me, but there are people who have. One of my friends, when we grew up in Pennsylvania, he was the only Jewish family in town, which it's a small town in Pennsylvania. And they were the Jewish family in town. and got picked on left and right. So I got in fights left and right because people were going, they'd call them names and then I'd have to, lay the beat down because, it just wasn't right. But then come later in life, I found out that he was gay. And then he says to me, well, yeah, I contemplated suicide at 10, 13, and 14. And I'm like, what? I didn't know about it. But this is what people go through on the psychological and emotional end when there's no outlet. What Robbins has done geniusly is collect information from all of his mentors and packaged it into something where you love it. Grandma and mom and girlfriend might be like, I don't know, but I'm seeing, all you can do, Chris, is lead by example. So they start seeing an improvement in you rather than what? Hey, grandma, you need you need this is you're going to get the opposite reaction.
Truth. True.
And I've been around Tony for 28, 29 years. And I can tell you, he'd hear somebody say, you need this. And he'd say, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not a motivator. I'm just a strategist. I'm giving you a new strategy to approach an old problem. Molested by a female relative. That's an old problem. It's gone. It's over. But it's not really over. Like it's ingrained in people. But there's a way for us to allow the body to not allow the ingrained situation to control here, and especially here. So, it's the physiological affects the thought process, and the thought process affects the physiological. So when we say thoughts are cellular, what you think, what you feel is manifested into the physiological. And we get a lot of people who are in chronic pain and can't get themselves out of pain because they haven't been able to let go of situations like what happened to you in the past. So I love your mindset. I love where you are. I'm assuming it's genuine, right? I don't know. You and I, we're not that close yet, so, but I can feel it, that it's real. And we're going to allow other people who hear this, they're going to have the same type of situations. Like people that go through divorce with kids, they don't realize how bad it is. That, it's been equated to worse than death, because at least death has a finality to it. Yeah, whereas when you're divorced and you have children, it just keeps going every year, right? In bad situations. I know a lot of people have perfected the idea of a family breaking up and the kids are actually not affected that negatively. But, there's ways for us to produce this. And what we do at Egoscue, the physiological and the psychological and the emotional pains are all tied together into one happy triangle. But the base of that triangle, mental, emotional, physiological at the bottom, is the foundation for these to be more successful up here.
No, that's completely, man, that's powerful. And that's definitely true. And it's just interesting how it can just be stored. So like you said, the mind affects the body and the body affects the mind. Does one have a greater influence over the other? I know you said the physiological would be at the base. So does that mean it has a stronger influence over the thoughts, or does the thoughts have a stronger influence, or is it kind of equal?
I would say they're pretty equal, but I can tell you it's very easy unless you have a presence about you. And that's one cool thing about Pete Egoscue. We always talk about presence. My therapists in our clinics who evaluate people in our, when they send us posture photographs or we see them on Zoom or however we do it, if we can get you present as a therapist, then your listening is active. If you're not present, let's say I was working with your grandma and I said, okay, she's in her 70s. She grew up at this time. She has bilateral knee. And all I'm thinking about is all this stuff while she's talking to me. Am I really hearing what she's saying? No. So I've done a lot of podcasts where people said, if you said to me, Brian, what's the one piece of advice you can give to everybody coming up in this field? Oh, that's easy. and this is going to sound odd coming from me because I don't do this as much as I could or should. Shut up. Listen to your customer, your client. Really listen to them without preconceived notions. Like if somebody came to me with scoliosis, I have some preconceived ideas of what I can do to help. But again, I got to go back to this. Yes, you have scoliosis. Yes, I've seen it 10,000 times, but I haven't seen yours. I haven't seen or heard your belief system. I haven't seen or heard your past. I haven't seen or heard how you grew up. What physiological things did you do? You know, oh, you weren't the kid picked first all the time, so your feelings were hurt. That's why you go to the refrigerator 10 times a day to feed your emotional hole that's there. And thoughts are cellular, which means your lymphatic system gets affected by that. So one of the big things I do with a lot of female clientele, if they'll give me the opportunity, is I tell them, look, it's just us girls, because I was raised by 3 sisters, so I feel like I'm a chick at heart. But you get them to think differently by saying, why am I limiting myself in this position that I'm in? And how can I get myself out of it? And the physiological side that we do, I've told this to Robbins coaches and Robbins Madonna's coaches and all these different psychological people. Get your client up, take them through some exercises, then ask them the same question. Guaranteed different response. Because once the physiological is closer to this, then there's some congruency in how the mind and the heart work together versus just getting stuck up here.
So the quality of thoughts or quality of thinking or their ability to be able to process information and situations are drastically different depending on what they're doing with their body and whatever emotional state that they're in.
Yeah. Which is why when somebody comes to me with chronic pain, I'll give you an example because we have time, right?
Yep.
I have this client come in and she has shorter hair than I do and it's all spiked up, and right away, I knew that she was lesbian. Like, and it's an assumption, but I've been around it for so long with friends and stuff that I can recognize. She wasn't hiding it. Came in, sleeveless shirt, and she was very, what people in the known or would say, was very butch and very strong. And I hadn't seen her yet. So I'd seen her on the therapy floor. And my therapist was working with her, who came over to me and said, hey, listen, Stephanie needs help with blah, 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 blah. Would you mind taking a look at her, and give me exercises to help her? That's easy because I'm an expert. I can fix. That's a dude line of thinking. I can fix you. You know, that's us. We're fixers. It'd be better for us to be better listeners. You'll be a better male in a relationship. So I said, okay, shut up, Brian. And I said, bring her into my office. I want to talk to her. Oh, no. I don't need you to do all that psychobabble you do. Just give me some exercises. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. She's 7 visits into this therapy process with us. And we only have 8 that she's in. I'm like, I'm getting ready to write this woman a refund check, which is fine. If I don't deliver, I get it. So I said, just give her exercises. You do it. She's like, no, okay, I'll bring her in. So she brings her in to see me. Now I'm sitting back in my chair like this, both my legs up on the table, like Jimmy Buffett. I'm just like, yeah, what's up? I should have had the Caribbean music from the ice cream truck playing in the background. She comes in and she's sitting up in the chair like this, forward on my chair, completely the antithesis of me sitting here and she's sitting here. She wants control of this conversation. I can feel it. She's like this, right? But I don't lose. So I was over there going, okay, I see how this is going to work. And I said, so what's going on? And she looks right at the therapist and goes, really? We have to go through this again? And I said, that's when I sat up. And I sat up and I just went, and so now I'm mirroring her. And I went, listen, you need to know that you're in a place of no judgment, 0. I honestly don't care enough about you to have judgment. We're not friends yet. Friends tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. We may never be friends, or we might be friends, but hear me out. Now, here's me, business owner, going, I could lose this client, which is not good for business, but it's good for her if I lose that client and she's not ready for us. Be honest with her. I said, there's some things about you that I know are affecting the way that this therapy works. And if you give me a chance, I will come at you with no judgment, but I will give you ways to think about things differently and get out of this. I said, so I only have one question. And I sat back. Whoa. I sat back just like this. What does your partner think about your chronic pain? Now, partner to you is no big deal, but partner for someone in that relationship with another girl, she understands that I know. Now I know. Now she has two roads she can go down. Oh my gosh, Brian knows too. And I've been judged my whole life. This guy, she goes down that road of, I don't approve of myself, or she says, interesting. And she chose the latter. She literally sat back in her chair, exhausted. She's like this. And she sat down like this and goes, Francesca's amazing. I have never known love like her before. And I said, okay, I've got her. So I wrote in my mind, I'm going, never known love like this before. So I said, well, that's awesome. What is she like? Oh, she tells me. And I go, okay, great. What do your parents think? And she starts crying because her dad died. She never got to tell him that she was in a relationship with a girl. I said, what about your mom? And she instantly gets pissed off. My mom's an effing B, blah, 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 blah. And I go, wow, okay. I said, now think about this. I said, I'm going to word this in a specific way. You're a woman. And because you like being controlled as a woman, and she smiles like, what? Because she doesn't like being controlled. Male or female don't, but especially women. I worded it that way because the minute that I mentioned your mom, I didn't even mention her name, you're allowing her to control your emotions. Why are you letting somebody external into your internal? Remember, she's 7 visits out of 8, no better, because she doesn't self-approve. And I knew this talking to her. So, it's not my job to be a psychologist. I know just enough to be dangerous, but it is my job to point out things of why I think this therapy is not working for you. So we went through some other stuff. She moved from North Carolina in the Baptist Belt, which judged her for being in love with another woman. So she moved to California where everything's safe, but that wherever you go, there you are statement applies. Wherever you go, there you are. And I said, you understand this? You're 3,500 miles away, but your mom still has control of your emotions, which I'm going to tell you the truth. Your mother doesn't want to have control of your emotions. You're giving her control of those emotions, and she didn't ask for them. So I have some homework for you to do with your mother when we're done here. She's like, I'm not talking to her. I said, yet. I didn't even give her a nanosecond to allow that to sit. She said, I'm not talking to her. And I just went, yet, because I'm not done with you. So by the time we were done, she sat back in the chair and said, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. And I said, what's that? She said, I'm homophobic. And I said, well, how's that working for you? You're the homo. Because I didn't want her to get her caught up in that negative. So I just hit her again with something funny, break the state. She said, wow, that's amazing to me. So she comes back to see us 2 weeks later. She's ripped up on her arm. She flipped over the mountain bike on her. And I didn't even give her a chance to whine and complain about it. I'm like, what's up, girl? And I high-fived her, came over to her. I'm loud, blah, blah, blah. I did not want her to get caught up in, well, I did this. And she said, I flipped over the mountain bike and had a great ride, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have any more back pain. And I said, that's amazing. Did you go home and show Francesca, like I asked you to do, a love like she's never known before? because your mother and your control with the Baptist church and all that, and your self-disapproval only allowed you to put in 30%, and Francesca's putting in 100, those odds are off.
Yeah.
And she said, she goes, I'm in a completely different relationship right now. She goes, I feel so much more freedom, blah, 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 blah. I said, great. I'm glad I could help, but I'm telling you, the reason for your back pain never going away is because you did feel better. You couldn't believe it, and you didn't deserve it, because that's what you heard your whole life.
Wow. That's powerful. I was reading something by NLP guy, Robert Dilts, I believe his name was. He was talking about the 3 different top limiting beliefs that hold everybody back. Is 1, you don't believe it's possible. 2, if you believe it's possible, you don't think you're capable. So you believe it's possible for somebody else, but not necessarily for you. And then the 3rd one, if you do believe it's possible and you do believe you're capable, you struggle whether you feel like you're worthy or if you deserve it or not. So it's interesting to see that play out in your field as well.
Buddy, do you have kids?
I don't. I got 5 nieces and nephews, though.
Okay. So when the nieces and nephews are getting ready to go to sleep and they're like, you're my favorite uncle, blah, blah, blah. The things that you tell them and the things they feel off of you will ingrain who they are later. So with my son, I used to fall asleep on my back in this position. Like, I know this is like laid on my back at 90 degrees with my legs up over a bed, and just lay there and let my back settle, which, by the way, those of your clients that have some severe back pain, this might be a good thing for them to do tonight. But in my armpit, I would put my kid right here and let him fall asleep on me or near me. And it bonded us very close that way, but it also let me whisper to him and talk to him while he was falling asleep. You're a Bradley. You're a winner. That's what we do. We don't take things from people. We earn them. You earn respect. I just kept ingraining this subliminal messaging to him while he was sleeping or going to bed. Whether he understood it at 2 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, he heard it. And I'm not kidding you. I had a 9th grader, 6 foot tall, who would come over and lay down and put his head here and talk to me. I mean, you're not a dad, but when your kid does that, especially a boy to a man, then I know that I'm raising a kid with feelings. And rather than the guy, well, let's be honest. What started all this? Not started it. What was the catalyst or the tipping point for all of the BLM stuff in Minnesota? A cop who was a complete ass, who I guarantee you, guaranteed, had a lifestyle behind him that created the monster. And I am not saying feel sorry for him. What I'm saying is there's always a cause. And if we get better as uncles, uncle, dad, coach, if we get better at that and be better at a life example, use your past, because you have one, use your past to let people know they don't have to be caught in a dark place with this. There are ways out of it. Don't give that female that did something to you control of who you are now. You made a choice, Chris. That's powerful shit, dude. So a lot of people would go, well, it's easy for you because you overcame it. No. You don't overcome this. You have an active choice to allow it to have control of you or not. And that's what Stephanie did with Francesca via her mother, via the church, all that stuff.
So let me ask, and this randomly just came to my mind. Of course, we were talking about the molestation thing, and I'm a firm believer of anybody who was molested at a young age typically grows up with a hypersexual drive. Does sex drive and posture have anything like are linked in any way?
I'm going to instinctively tell you 110%. I haven't run studies on this, and Yeah, I don't know, but I can tell you I have had multiple, and you know, there's a difference between love and sex, and they are correspondingly go together. But you know, a long time ago, you know, somebody told me you can do this or you can do this. You know, you can F or you can love. And there's a huge difference between the two. So and there is a difference, right? So I've had multiple porn star clients, males, who couldn't do things because their backs and hips were killing them. Now, I didn't view them any differently. I didn't judge them. I didn't ask them why they went into it. None of my business at that point, but the chronic back pain was stopping them from their athletic sport of whatever they were doing. I've had multiple 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old people going, I feel so much better. And hey, I'm able to do this now. Yeah, because your internal plumbing is tied to the alignment of your body, which is why your female customer listening to this right now is wondering, this will be a painful word. So I want them to hear this. Girls, I don't mean anything by this, so hear me out. When I say you asking yourself this question, I wonder if my fat ass has anything to do with posture. I'm not spelling fat the way you did. I'm going to spell it P-H-A-T, which is part of the lymphatic word. Your internal plumbing, the way your body gets lymph system to move, the way your body gets rid of byproducts is your lymphatic system. It's your internal sewage system. So when you say your fat ass, we're talking about PHAT because some of the major channels for your lymph system are in your abdominal area and your hip area. And when you don't move your hip, you don't lose weight the way you would like, which is why all the physiology books will tell everybody listening to this, you cannot spot reduce, meaning I can't do this with my arm to make me burn more fat out of my arm. But what you can do is you can get your shoulders out of this position and move them to this position organically, not by pulling them back, but let the body do it itself, so that your lymph channels can now do their job, drain upward by your clavicle bones. But if you're not moving your hips enough, you're wondering why your pant size is doing this. I'm telling you, that's the reason.
Wow.
Your thoughts are cellular, and move your plumbing system.
That makes so much sense, man. And it's actually something I never considered or thought about before. Man, you're a fascinating person, Mr. Bradley, for sure. How can the people work with you if they're trying to get access to some of your therapies or your Zoom trainings or classes and everything? Where can they find you on social media? And of course, where can they sign up for your services?
Yeah, first of all, here's the pain-free book. It's called Pain Free. You can get it at Amazon. That's Pete Egoscue's second book that launched the Pain-Free series. But here is my Instagram that people can go to. Remember, it's under The Brian Bradley, but it's only that way because I couldn't get the other one. But I have posts like this on there where we talk about like the plank, like what's wrong with that picture or what's right. Well, to me, a lot of people would say she has too much of an arch in her lower back. And I'd say, okay, I get it. But does that arch look accentuated because the mounding up here is so great? So we get them to change the upper back, which fires the quote core better and it stabilizes her hip better. So yeah. And then we have the Egoscue method, EGOSCUE method on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff too. But I always answer my DMs on here. So if you guys get on Instagram or Facebook, you can hit me up on Messenger or that, and I'll guide them to where, you know, I have a subscription model where they can just look at archived videos from us. They can get live classes with that. It's very inexpensive. And for a little bit more in the same subscription model, they can get posture photographs. For example, your grandma may say, well, let me have them take a look. You would get pictures of her, send them to me. And every month we would send you a new set of exercises based on the upgrades in her posture as she progressed. And that's our most inexpensive way to do this stuff. Now, Other people might be listening and saying, no, I want to do this. I want to work Zoom. I want to work one-on-one in clinic. So we have clinics all over the country in 30 some locations, 2 in Japan, 2 in Mexico. Plus we have the ability to see people anywhere in the world over Zoom. Like right now, like somebody says to me, I wonder if there's something wrong with me. I don't know. Let me take a look. Hit me up, DM me, and I'll take a look. And if it makes sense to you, then I'll try to guide you through that at that point.
Hey, well, I definitely encourage the audience to check those out for sure, because like I said, those little exercises that I do, it for sure jolts the body. It for sure helps my body seems to just operate in a place of just balance and everything. And like I said, my girlfriend see me do one exercise and immediately was just like, she just looked at me. It was just like, I can tell.
Let's let your audience feel something. Do you mind being my model as we go through this?
Oh, nope, we can do it.
Okay, so let's have everybody stand up. And again, if you're driving, watch this later. Get out of the chair, move the chair out of the way. And now just find a comfortable stance standing there. Close your eyes. Where's your body weight from left to right? Where is it from front to back? That's just going to let your body know where it's planted. Maybe I have more weight on one foot versus the other. Maybe I have more weight in the heel of one foot versus the other.
Yeah, towards the back and more on the right.
Okay, so you're feeling a slight imbalance. I have more weight in my heels and more on the right, when it should be 50-50 and 50-50. So don't change that consciously. Let's get it to change unconsciously. And now, Chris, remember, you loading into your heels and more on the right side, in my opinion, in Egoscue's opinion, could be tied into when I say to you, everybody in the audience, close your eyes. Think about the worst situation that's ever happened to you. Relive it, feel it, let it grab a hold of you, and then give it a color. What's the first color that came to mind, Chris?
Orange.
Okay. So now take your feet and toe them together like this, like literally stand pigeon-toed with your toes touching. Interlace your hands at the top of the back of your head like this. Drop your shoulders. Pull your elbows back. And now tighten up your thigh muscles, so push your knees back. And that'll feel like it stuck your butt out a little bit, so your thighs are tight. You got 1 minute like that. Can you do this for a minute?
Yep.
Now, grandma with bad knees may not be able to do this, but there's other versions of things she could do. So as everybody's going through this, we're standing pigeon-toed. His feet are at 45 degrees, and his thighs are tight, pushing his knees back. And get those hands all the way interlaced together like this. And then just pull your elbows back. You have about 20 seconds left. This is one exercise for somebody to interrupt their overall sitting position throughout the day, because of COVID-19, we're sitting about 90% more than we used to. Okay, relax this. Bring your arms down, shake your feet out, put them where you want it. Chris? Shouldn't have been that much work, bro. Okay, so now close your eyes. And what's different about your load bearing? Remember, you were more on the right and in the heels. Where is it now?
I feel, more like it's more evenly distributed. Like I'm feeling weight on my toes now too, as well as on the heels. It's like an even balance.
So there's an assumption that I have in my head. So I'm going to ask you the question. Close your eyes. Go to that negative position, let it grab a hold of you, and give it a color. And I dare you to make it the same color. I dare you to let it grasp a hold of you emotionally like it did before.
Can't really do that, nor can I get the orange to come.
That's right. Now, why?
Maybe the flow of the body or something? Or?
Could be very easily. All you did was you added a different interrupt that took your body from here, moved it to a more erect position, which aligned everything up and allowed everybody to then say, wow, my internal structure is now doing more work on its own. I feel better. I wonder if my emotions are affected by that, which you just experienced. Like, wow. Now, if I said to you, Now, if I said to you, Chris, the relative that did what she did when she was younger with you, for her own fucked up reason, by the way, it's an opportunity. It's a gift that it happened to you. I'm not condoning the behavior, but what opportunities are coming out of this now that you're creating and helping other people? So, yeah, it's a shitty situation. I get it. Nobody wishes it upon their worst enemy. But we've got to see it as this happened for me for a reason, so I could get my message out and help other people.
No, that's true. That's true. That's facts. Man, that's powerful. So that is basically how PTSD can just get shifted by proper alignment within the body. Just it won't even allow the thoughts to even come anymore.
100%.
That's powerful, man.
Look, the next time that you're in a brawl with your girl, you know, you're like, oh God, and everybody's doing this, right? Everybody's doing this, and you're trying to get her to believe, and she's trying. This is like a hardcore left nut case and a hardcore psycho right case in politics, trying to go, I want you to see my way. No, I want you to see my way. And then we have a fight, and then we have what we had in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But if everybody could just say, wait a second, leave the room, go do arm circles, elbow curls, this, and hey, get your body back in alignment, then come in. I dare you to feel as crappy about that other person as you did before. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Because the feeling that we were feeling was because of probably the tightness in the body that you do when you angry and you yelling and all this other stuff. And when you let that go, there is no emotion to direct at that person anymore.
Yeah,
that
you come back in
profound.
And you actually might be able to hear your girlfriend's side at that point and say, you know what? What did I do to feed her to this crazy ass spot that she is? Right? When in her mind, she's not crazy. She's just asking you to do the simplest thing. But what she doesn't realize is that you're a dude. You don't think like she does.
No, that's powerful. That's definitely true. Well, I definitely want to respect your time. I definitely appreciate you hopping on the podcast with me. I would final question like to ask, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. What is the one thing that you know now as a business owner that had you known when you first started, it would have streamlined your process or helped you avoid certain mistakes?
100%. Shut your mouth. The person in charge of the conversation is the one listening. So again, relationships, just shut it. And then ask yourself that question. What did I do that fed the narrative as to why that question's coming up? You know, why didn't you do the dishes? F you, I'll get to the dishes whenever I want. Versus, I wonder why that's a big deal to her. Oh, because she's feeling disrespected today at work. And then I just added to the disrespect. You know, I mean, divorce is what, 75% what's going on right now? If people could just go back to day one when you met your partner, how did you feel then? If you can tap into that, it's game over, dude. You'll be together forever. But instead, what we do is we allow our ego to get into play. And ego stands for edging God out. EGO. Whatever God you believe in, I don't even care. But it's you're edging God out. So now it's just you narcissistic, blah, blah, blah. Then you get onto Instagram. Then you take your shirt off and you're flexing. Oh, God, if I see another one of those, I'm going to go crazy, right? But that's where we are today. And everybody thinks that's okay. So
no, that's powerful.
Yeah, I hope this was fun. Anybody has questions, even if you disagree with me, I want to hear from you because again, I may have added to the reason why you like or dislike something. So, and Chris, I really appreciate your honesty. I guarantee you people, A, didn't know that about you that are listening, and B, they like you more because they know about it now. They can relate to it. Even if that never happened, there's certain things that did happen in people's lives that just makes you say, you know what, I'm bitching and complaining about stuff that I have no control over. Just before this, I did therapy with a kid in Florida who's hemiplegic, meaning his entire left side of his body doesn't work. His arms caught up like this, like somebody who has a stroke. They're like, they've lost the ability to have the hemispheres work together.
Mm.
And he's mute. So, dude, I recorded it and I'm sending it out to my clinics to say, don't ever let your clients complain about their therapy process again when you see what this kid's able to do with half a body and can't talk. Because he would go, and then he'd hit play. And it would say, Chris, this is Brian. I'm so glad to meet you. Like the phone would be his communicator.
Wow.
So people have shit going on. Just sit back and say, maybe I shouldn't let the news and social media control me a little bit, and just step toward the middle and be willing to listen to both sides. And I mean that from a relationship to politics to religion to everything.
Yeah, and definitely, man, when y'all listening, check out his programs, because I didn't even make the connection until he just had me do that exercise, and it let me, because I've been doing your exercises every single day since the free Tony Robbins events, but I've been doing them periodically over the last probably 2.5 years since I got introduced to you from the first time. But again, it would only be at every Tony Robbins event. But over the last probably week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been doing them every single day. And I didn't make the connection as to why, because I was in a little slump probably like the last couple of months. And literally the last week and a half, I've just been on like an upward tick like crazy. And I couldn't make the connections. But now, with the explanation that you just gave with the posture realignment and everything, and how it really kind of blocks the access to those negative emotions, it just makes so much sense, because I've just been way more driving lately. I've just been way more focused. I've been feeling way better about myself, way more energy, knocking way more things off my to-do list. And I didn't make that connection until we just did this podcast. So yes, everybody go get those services. And again, Mr. Bradley, I appreciate you taking the time.
You're the man, dude. You're going to help a lot of people, and we'll get together sooner or later again. Hope to see you in person at an event.
Hey, as soon as it open up, I'm there, man. I can't wait. I literally can't wait. But the crazy thing is, though, the virtual ones are just as good. I didn't think it would be, but it's literally just as good. I mean, I have my girlfriend in here. We're screaming and yelling and clapping and doing all this other stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people, your neighbors are going like this. What is going on over there?
I've learned to go around and knock on doors and just tell people, look, don't call the cops. Just, I got this going on. I got this little seminar. It's going to be 12 hours a day for about 4 days. Just, if I'm too loud, just call me. Please don't call the cops. So they know now.
Yeah, because they're going like this. That's just my crazy neighbor, Chris. But you're exactly right. A lot of people, I was doing filming out of my garage with my garage door open sometimes. My neighbors are coming by and they're like, we had 800,000 some people on that event.
Yeah. And if you don't know about an event with Tony, then you just wouldn't know. But if you know, then you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, the world needs it right now. You're in a healing space, so stay there. You're going to help a lot of people, dude.
Yes. Well, again, I appreciate it, man. Any way I can be of service, please let me know. And then, in a couple months, would like to tap back in, have you back on the show, and then just for updates.
I'm around.
All right, man. You have a blessed day.
You too. Have a great life. Bye.
Thank you. Peace.